I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are still in the Gospels. Now, my last reading was in Matthew 23, where Christ rebukes the Pharisees. I didn't do the Joseph Smith translation in that recording, though, because of how much there is, and so I'm going to do it now. So let us look at the Joseph Smith translation of Matthew chapter 23. Most of the verses have some kind of correction to them. And a lot of them are simple, but some of them are very profound. Let's start with verses 3 and 4. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, they will make you observe and do. For they are ministers of the law, and they make themselves your judges. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and lay on men's shoulders, and they are grievous to be borne. But they will not move them with one of their fingers. In other words, Christ isn't telling the people to do what the Pharisees tell you to do, but not what they do. He's saying they're going to force you to do it because they are in the position of authority and they are ruling over you. They are oppressing the people. And so this is just an accusation against the Pharisees. Now in verse 5, we change but to and. So now the first sentence is, and all their works they do to be seen of men. Then we go down to number 7. We have the addition where it says, Rabbi, Rabbi, and then in parentheses we add, which is Master. In verse 8, instead of even Christ, it is which is Christ. Minor clarification. In verse 9, we now have, and call no one your creator upon the earth, or your heavenly Father, for one is your creator and heavenly Father, even he who is in heaven. So now it's not just, don't call anyone your father, because you can call your earthly father, father, but this is now clarifying. It's talking about, just as you don't give anybody else the honor that belongs to Christ, you don't give anybody else the honor that belongs to the Father. And then verse 10 is also very interesting. It now says, neither be ye called master, for one is your master, even he whom your heavenly Father sent, which is Christ. For he hath sent him among you, that ye might have life. What we have here then is these three things. Don't give anybody the honor that belongs to Christ. Don't give anybody the honor that belongs to the Father. And don't require others to give you the honor that rightly belongs to Christ. Now in verse 12, we add of him. So whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased of him, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted of him. So it is now through Christ that we are abased and exalted. Verse 14, we now have, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, for ye are hypocrites. Ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you shall receive the greater punishment. Minor grammatical corrections. Now, in 15, we also have, ye is corrected to you, but at the end there, it's now, you make him twofold more the child of hell than he was before, like unto yourselves. So he's saying that the Pharisees are worse than the pagans, and when they convert the pagans to their religion, they make them worse. In verse 16, instead of ye blind guides which say, it's just blind guides who say, and then at the end, swear by the gold of the temple, he committeth sin and is a debtor. So it's not a sin to swear by the temple, but to swear by the gold of the temple. In verse 17, we now have, ye are fools and blind, for which is the greatest, the gold or the temple? And now let's read 18 through 20. It says, and ye say, whosoever sweareth by the altar is nothing, but whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. O fools and blind, for which is the greatest, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Verily I say unto you, whoso therefore sweareth by it, sweareth by the altar and by all things thereon. Again, minor clarifications. In verse 21, change that to who, and in verse 22, change that to who. In verse 23, instead of for ye pay tithe, it is for you pay tithe, and then the weightier matters is corrected to weightier things. Now verse 24 has this, You blind guides, who strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, who make yourselves appear unto men that you would not commit the least sin, and yet you yourselves transgress the whole law. That's they put on a show because they want it to be thought of that they don't commit any sin. They want to be viewed as being near perfect, and yet they are breaking the law in every way. Now, verse 25, ye is changed to you. Verse 26 now is, you blind Pharisees, cleanse first the cup and platter within, that the outside of them may be clean also. So now he is clear, he's stating directly, he's talking about the inner soul of the man. Verse 27, a number of corrections. It now reads, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but are within full of the bones of the dead, and of all uncleanness. So, just minor clarification, really just grammatical corrections. In verse 28, ye is again changed to you. In verse 29, ye is changed to you. Verses 31 through 33 now read, wherefore you are witnesses unto yourselves of your own wickedness, and you are the children of them who killed the prophets, and will fill up the measure then of your fathers, for you yourselves kill the prophets like unto your fathers. You serpents and generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? So he is now saying, the Herodians were responsible for the death of John the Baptist. They say they killed Zacharias between the altar and the temple. So they have killed the prophets. Even though they say, we wouldn't, if we lived in the days of our fathers, we wouldn't be killing the prophets. They have been killing the prophets. Verse 34, instead of, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, it is, and of them you will kill and crucify, and of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city. So we're removing some and them and changing ye to you. In verse 35, change ye to you. Now, 36 and 37, this is very interesting. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. You bear testimony against your fathers when you yourselves are partakers of the same wickedness. Behold, your fathers did it through ignorance, but you do not. Wherefore their sins shall be upon your heads. Then Jesus began to weep over Jerusalem, saying, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who will kill the prophets and will stone them who are sent unto you. How oft would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and you would not. Then we have verse 39. For I say unto you, that you shall not see me henceforth, and know that I am he of whom it is written by the prophets, until you shall say, Blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord, in the clouds of heaven, and all the holy angels with him. Then understood his disciples that he should come again on the earth, after that he was glorified and crowned on the right hand of God. So now this is when the disciples first start understanding that there are two appearances, there are two comings of Christ, and they are living through the first coming, but he will come again. But again, there's a lot of new stuff here in the Joseph Smith translation, and that part there, that you are partakers of the wickedness of your fathers, but they did it in ignorance. And so this is, he's saying a lot of times your fathers didn't understand what they were doing, but you do. You know who I am. You know that the kingdom has come and you are acting against it. He is again calling these guys sons of perdition. And so they receive the greater condemnation. I'm going to leave that here. There's been a lot of noise going on and this video is getting kind of loud. So I'll leave that here. We continue with a couple of combined videos again. So I will see you there.